Hello, I'm Albert Renshaw. This is my proof for, not necessarily proof for God, but proof for some type of intelligent divine intervenor. That's probably the best. All right, proof for intelligent divine intervening. Here we go. So let's picture a closed system where there's two balls. And I give you some information. We're frozen in time right now, but the balls are like this, and I tell you this ball is traveling this direction. So maybe I say like northwest at 4 miles an hour or something like that, and you know there's no friction in the system, and you know the weight of the balls, and we haven't gotten to the point in time where they hit yet. But using math and physics, you can calculate and even predict the future before it happens. You know these balls will collide and they'll do something like this. And if I give you enough information, you can start predicting the future in this system. It's closed, there's only two things, and you can tell me exactly 10 seconds from now where everything will be, even though we haven't gotten there yet on our timeline, just using math and physics. So, in our universe, there's not just two little particles. I don't even know a number. There's a lot. Right? It's like billions and trillions and more than we have names for numbers for. But theoretically, all the information is there for any given particle. We do know its velocity and its direction and all these things. You should be able to pause the whole universe, get some computer to look at every single particle, know all the data, and kind of simulate out how it's going to go 10 seconds from now, 50 seconds from now, and predict the future without actually having to wait for it to happen. Now, obviously, the computer would have to be outside the system, but that's for another time. Anyways, with this in mind, we can also work backwards. I started you in this closed system. You knew we were right here, right? This ball was traveling this way, and you knew the speed, and you could predict what would happen in the future before it happened. But not only can you do that, you can also predict what happened in the past. If you know there's only two particles in this whole entire system, and this ball is going this way, you know the velocity and everything, then you know 5 seconds ago, before we even got here and I showed you this system, this ball was back here, and it was rolling this way. So not only can we go forward in time with all the information and we calculate it out, we can say how everything will be forward in time, we can also travel backwards in time. With that in mind, we should be able to get all the information of every particle in the whole entire universe and travel backwards in time, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, all the way until the beginning of time. Some people say the Big Bang Theory, but we should be able to travel all the way back to that point in time. And with all this information, if I have free thought, which is, again, just particles behaving in a certain way, there's neurons firing, but with each thought I have, you can break it down to a system of particles moving certain directions. I have these neurons firing this way, and it allows me to have this thought. But if those neurons, let's say a particle's firing in a certain direction, it's only moving that way because something else caused it to move that way. So it's all kind of chain reaction. I have this thought because this neuron fired or whatever, right? I have a particle that fired this way. Well, that's only because this particle over here went this way, and then it had this way, and then I had the thought. You see what I'm saying? So before this particle, what caused this one to move here to hit this one, and all these things. It's all chain reaction. You work backwards. Eventually you get to the very initial point. Let's say it's the Big Bang, the certain equation of things exploding, whatever. Every thought we've had, everything we've done breaks down to particles behaving certain ways. And before I continue, there's probably some quantum physicists out there that are just like losing their mind, banging their keyboard. Let me finish. I'll get to that as well. Anyways, back to the model with particles and always behaving certain ways. Everything is a chain reaction. Every thought I have, every neuron the direction of every particle triggering those thoughts is a chain reaction of previous particle movement, all the way back to the origin of the universe. There was an initial direction, initial equation that allowed everything to move a certain way, that allowed me to be where I am now, having these thoughts. So if you believe that, then something had to have said, okay, at the very start, I'm going to design this whole entire system where it's not going to be a coincidence that we just have life and everything. But every equation is going to work out so that with all the chain reactions, Albert's going to exist and he's going to have these thoughts and neurons will be firing and particles will move this way. Then the other theory would be that we somehow can just have thoughts and it doesn't necessarily have to be a chain reaction. Somehow these particles just move a certain way on their own, disobeying any laws of math or physics. And not only do they do that, but they somehow move on their own in a way where it's not just a jumbled mess of neurons and my thoughts are like, blah, 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 but I'm actually having intelligent thoughts. Somehow, out of random movement, not pre-calculated movement, intelligent thought still happens. Neurons still fire in a certain way where it's intelligent thought. And it's easy, especially, and here's where the quantum physicists will finally be relieved, with things like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. It's clear that we can't predict our way all the way back in time or forward in time, just with all the given information, because there is randomness in the universe. Electrons might move a certain way and have a certain speed, but a different position. So you can't say, all right, this butterfly flapped its wings and then this particle moved that way, which blah, 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 and then this neuron fired and then I had this thought, because there is randomness. So it's not set thoughts at the beginning of everything. There is randomness, and from that I'm allowed to have different thoughts. The thing is, though, if it were truly random, my thoughts, neurons would fire in a certain way. It would just be a jumbled mess. There's no way that my thoughts would be intelligent. They would just be random neurons firing randomly. But the fact that they are intelligent and they are my own thoughts, they're not just predetermined from the initial bang or whatever, means that there does have to be randomness. Heisenberg uncertainty principle is true, and the only way that I can have free thought, other than the whole entire system being set up so perfectly that every particle bounces a certain way that there is thought, and even then it's not free will thought, it's just thought that's a chain reaction of other events. The only way for that to happen is if there is randomness, there is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, but somehow the chain reactions still allow for intelligent thought, meaning there is divine intervention, something outside of our system, controlling not just that this particle does something completely random, but that it does the right random thing. Can't be calculated by people inside the system because it truly is not calculable, but it still is the right one in order that chain reactions would still occur where I have certain intelligent thought and not just a random jumbled mess of neurons and whatnot. So, not necessarily a proof for the God, but it is a proof that there is some sort of intelligent intervention outside of our closed system, or outside the universe system, that does choose the random position and velocity of particles and does satisfy the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, but it's not truly random. It appears random to us, but there has to be order to it. Otherwise, the chain reactions those random events would occur would not be intelligent thought. I would just have a random thought. And it's interesting because even if this is all right, and it's completely, well, it's not completely random, but it is intervened in random, and I can have my thought with my neurons firing certain ways, why it wouldn't be free thought? It's some divine thing determining my thoughts. So it might not necessarily be one divine intervener. It might be multiple for each person. Like one example could be everyone's spirit in a outside of our universal system, determining the position of particles so that our human selves can have free thought and our human neurons do fire proper ways, even though physics can't predict which way they will fire because of uncertainty in the quantum universe. It is random, but not random enough that the neurons are completely jumbled and I just have scattered thought, but it's intelligent thought, and it makes sense, and I can think words, and it's systematic and structured. And the only way for that to be is if it is random, in a sense meaning it can't be calculated, but not random in a sense meaning it still allows for a systematic, ordered chain reaction, divine intervention.